Hey, what's going on, guys? It's the Bodhi Bros, episode 18. I'm Bodhi Ray.
And I'm John with a J.
What we got today, John?
Oh, that's right. It's my turn to do that. This time, oh boy, we got a banger. This is Tony Robbins, Change Negative Thoughts. It is a recording that Ray found. So it's not, you don't get to see Tony's face, which really saddened me. I wanted to reconnect with Tony. And I'll explain that. So it's kind of like ocean backgrounds and wild landscapes, et cetera, et cetera. But it had like 160 something thousand views. So some people have watched / listened to it.
But he's a big name.
Yeah, huge. I mean,
when I think of self-help expert, the first name in my mind is always Tony Robbins.
Yeah, I mean he is one of the pioneers in the field of
that stuff.
Yeah, which some would call spiritual Novocaine, which some would call, whatever, the juice, the stuff dreams are made of, whatever. But so I do have history. We always talk about our history with the certain speakers, teachers, creators of content. My first stint with Tony Robbins was back in my Amway days. So my multi-level marketing days where, and back then, and this was in the early 90s, there were still cassette tapes. And when you were part of an Amway team or, business, your own personal business endeavor, these tapes circulated around frequently. It was like part of the thing, man. You got to listen to the tapes, man. Just listen to the tapes. Yeah. Yeah, and like your sponsor,
Tony Robbins tapes.
Yeah, not just Tony Robbins tapes, like Zig Ziglar and all those, the big Dale Carnegie, et cetera, and they would pass around. They were just motivational tapes, keep you going, keep you positively focused, positive, just like in that groove. You're gonna focus positive, and you're gonna pump the people up around you, and you're gonna go, and not look back, man. Like you are just going to. That is your channel. You are now thinking. You are unleashing the giant within. You are doing all those things to build your business and build those people up around you and have them gravitate towards you and grab them and be like, this guy's on fire. Like, let's go. So like, if you were feeling down, they're like, listen to a tape. If you were feeling like your business wasn't working, listen to a tape. And so we listened to these tapes, and I got to tell you, man, they do fire you up. So there's been a cycle. So I'm really interested. I can't wait to hear your take on this because, and I think we have both done this, or I can speak personally to my experience through these whole 18 episodes now. We take our experience of the past, our eyes and ears of the past, and then like the far past, like when we were younger, and then maybe not too long ago, and see how, we've changed or we understand things, we become more self-aware, and then today. So I have 3 different periods of time with Tony. I have the Amway days, okay, right? And then I have all right, this is, I've totally felt, if like I hear the name Tony Robbins, I know he's a bulldozer, he's a spiritual bypasser. So I have those days, right? Okay. I have man, this guy's a genius. This guy's such a motivator. I'm going to become the perpetually positive Pepe person and never, ever look back. No more negativity in my life. No more negative thoughts. And then the dark night of the soul, the awakening, all that. And I'm like, all right, Tony's one of those spiritual bypassing, bulldoze your negative feeling guys. He doesn't want to hear about it. He just wants positive, positive, positive. Now today is where am I at now in how this material could be very valuable. And have I misunderstood his message from the beginning of time of the Amway days and even into the awakening days? And now today, can I see it and feel it and take, like we always try to do, we always try to take one little thing from it? Or is it garbage? I think I've allowed myself to, I don't want to say garbage, but is it not something for me, right? Is it not something that I'm going to vibe with or recommend to other people? So I don't know. I think I've allowed myself to come to this recording today with you to discover where I'm at just by talking through it with you.
Okay. I know for me, for this video, when I first listened to it, I wasn't that excited about it. I didn't really like it. Well, we'll go through. The video starts off with more of like a positive story, and we'll get to like some of the nuggets and gems in that. And then he goes into a practice he gives you, a method. And when I first listened to it, I was like, this is kind of crap. I didn't really like it. Listening it to again, I had a little bit more of appreciation for it. I think it's could be very helpful for somebody. Maybe not, depending on where you're at. If you were first starting doing inner work, this could be a really good start, a really good video for you, just like to get started on. Is it advanced? No, but you know what though? Sometimes the simple techniques, the simple methods, get kind of they get bulldozed for more advanced stuff sometimes, and sometimes it is the simple things as being aware of your emotions, your feelings, that could have a huge impact. So I think depending on where you're at, this video could hit very well for some people. Like I know some people, when I was listening to it, I had some people in mind that I knew that didn't really listen to these kind of videos very much. And I thought, wow, you know what? I bet you if this person listened to this video, it would make a really big change for that person. Me, not so much. But for some people, yeah, it all depends where you're at when you listen to this. Even when we listen, I'm sure some of the first spiritual videos that I watched when I was first starting on this path, if I were to go back and look at them now or read the books, I'd probably be like, it's not that great. But back then it was like, whoa, what? We're all one? Oh my gosh, this is like news. This is fire.
Right.
So it's even not just relating to self-help and spiritual stuff. Sometimes you go back and you watch a movie you watched when you were a kid, and you think, man, this movie was great, and then you watch it as an adult and you're like, oh, it wasn't really that funny, It wasn't really that good. What was I thinking, So I could see somebody coming across this being somebody just getting into the self-help stuff and spiritual stuff, coming across this video, and I could see them, maybe opening up, or maybe having maybe a little bit of a mini awakening from this video. It all depends what you need to hear at the time.
True. And like you said, there are some gems and some nuggets in there. And I scribbled some stuff down, even much against my resistance. I'm like, I'm not taking notes on this. And I'm pushing against Tony because I'm initially. And then I'm like, no, that's that past time. You said you want to see it from a new set of eyes, a new set of ears. The one thing, though, I can't get on the same page with, and that I would caution to anyone, at any stage listening to. And I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying, because there are things in here of value. And depending on what you're open to and where you're at in your spiritual journey or just life's journey, whatever phrase you want to put on it, you can definitely open yourself up to some new and prosperous things for sure. Because he's not teaching anything that's really going to hurt you ultimately. But if you subscribe to it with such a permanence and such a, just like I guess that's the best way to say it, just like concrete, like this is my new religion, man. Like, I guess there's danger in that no matter what you do.
Right.
But is that he really makes it seem and feel like those types of what we throw into the umbrella of negative emotions are not okay to feel. And he does make a comment during that. He's like, I'm not saying be focused on nothing but the positive, focus on nothing but the positive, but he kind of is. And I was waiting for him to explain how he's not saying that. But he really is saying ultimately that these things are not okay. And we want to aspire for the good feelings. We want to push through and get to the good stuff, the good part of life, because this stuff, just the depression, the sadness, all that stuff, even if you've been feeling it for years, it's not good. It's not, we want to get to the good, but you can't really, at least I feel, and you talk to how you feel about this. but I don't feel like you can get to the good or sustain a good or anything if you don't allow the other stuff, because it's just going to come back twice as strong.
Well, I don't think it's about always feeling a certain way, and I don't think there's any way you can just feel a certain way. I don't think that's really the purpose of this of being human. I know in Buddhism they talk about the 10,000 joys and 10,000 sorrows,
Mm,
and that pain, gain and loss, pleasure and pain, up and down. It's all a part of life, being human. So you can't. There's always going to be a down to up. There's always going to be a loss to gain. There's always going to be pain. It's you're going to experience it all. The way to go about that, to navigate it, is to center yourself in your seat of consciousness and without resistance to anything, and be full acceptance. So if you feel depression, doesn't mean you can't change those things. Nobody wants to feel depressed. So I think that's really what it is like, you're not going to be like, I know what you're saying is like, you don't, there's positive emotions and there's negative, and you shouldn't label them as negative and positive because, but, and truthfully, there sort of is though. You kind of have to say, nobody wants to feel low self-worth. Nobody wants to feel miserable. But the problem is though, is that it's not really the feelings themselves that cause the problem. It's the resistance to them that causes the problem.
right.
And that's where the suffering always comes from non-acceptance.
Right.
And so really that depression is really something that we're not accepting. That anxiety is something about the future we're not accepting. The depression is something about the past we're not accepting. So it's, yeah, I mean, it's definitely, you want to change it, because I mean, you wouldn't be doing shadow work. You're doing shadow work because you don't want to feel a certain way, right? You don't want to, you want to make a change because you want to feel better. You want to be happy. So, I mean, I get the idea of of labeling, there's a pro and con to labeling something positive and negative.
Right. Or you're doing shadow work to just be more aware of why these things feel the way they do,
Right.
and being more intimate with it. So when they do come up, because they will come up, because like you said, 10,000 sorrows, 10,000 joys,
Right.
it doesn't hurt as much, or we understand it more, and we can integrate it more harmoniously into our day-to-day life, right? And so I think one of the dangers here is not just your personal experience, but the way we support and see and 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 allow others to have their experience without shaming them or trying to change them or whatever. So like someone comes out of this going, "Hey, dude, I know what you need. You need this video will help you change those negative thoughts. Like it's only 4 steps. It's so easy. That's all you have to do."
Well,
And that's totally invalid.
why don't we go into the 4 steps? So
Sure.
people,
Sure.
so this is really, I think the number 1 step was really the most important step. And actually, I would even almost say you could just do this number 1 step, and that's pretty much, a lot of what you need is really just identify where you live emotionally. And he makes a suggestion that you write a list of, maybe get a list, print off the internet or something, of whatever the 4,000 emotions there are, and you keep track of your emotions and you circle which ones you feel regularly, the most often, and then you narrow it down. I think, well, he said make a list, positive, negative, the most frequent 2 positive emotions and the frequent 2 negative ones. To me, this is the most important part, because you're placing your awareness on your feelings. And maybe you've never done that before. So this could be a great, huge shift for somebody who's never paid attention, being mindful of what they're feeling constantly. Like, okay, you know what? Yeah, you know what? I'm feeling vulnerable. You know what? I'm feeling anxiety. I'm feeling fearful. Really just paying attention to your feelings. And I think that's probably the biggest benefit, is that first step, is just being aware of that.
Yeah, and that serves anyone a golden, glorious goodness wherever they're at, their understanding of themselves, or it's a great gentle reminder for those that have been introduced to this. But I'll tell you, there is a lot of folks out there that have never given themselves the opportunity or even fully understand that. And I was one of those people not too many years ago. I was just sit with my emotions. I don't know what that means. Allow myself to feel. I'm feeling it right now, but to what degree? And like you said, and like he said, identify where you live, like what, and he calls it home. So this is that one. What is that dominant, vibration that you dwell in? And for a lot of people, maybe it is depression, maybe it is fear, for sure. And really, and with that first step too, we also are able to, he talks about what are the events that trigger these feelings that bring us right back to home. What, and so going back to how you started the video off, saying that there's something in this for everyone. You're absolutely right. Step one, that is absolutely for anyone, anytime, anywhere on this planet, man. It's
To me, that was the biggest step. And he says number 2 is identify the antidote. This one, you know what though, like, all right, at first I did not like this step 2 because it felt like you're just kind of pushing that. Let's say he gives the example, if you feel fear, that means you need courage. If you're seriousness, you need playfulness. And at first I was like, I don't know if this is really practical, but you know what though? The more I thought about it, because he said, we use outside stuff to kind of bring in those feelings to kind of cope with it. So I felt like it was kind of coping with those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what though? There is a time and place for coping sometimes. Sometimes you need to take an aspirin to get through the day. So I think maybe, this could be in conjunction with doing other inner work. Maybe you're at work and you're like, I don't feel very confident, and maybe, it's kind of like almost like fake it till you make it type of thing. Right. And so sometimes, maybe you do need to do that to get through a certain situation.
Right. Or, and it absolutely, wholeheartedly agree. And maybe it does fall in line with the get uncomfortable, do something. If you're running the same program, getting the same results, and you're not excited about those results, you feel like you're missing out on something, then maybe step into that antidote. And if you live in a state of constant fear, then I'm not saying bulldoze that fear. You're well aware of it. You're connected with it. It's this monster is one of your most intimate friends and enemies, right? All in one. Maybe go ahead and step out and into something that you wouldn't normally do just for a second and see what happens. It'll give you a whole new experience. You're not leaving this behind, abandoning this, denying, disowning it, that aspect of you, but you're just like, hey, hold on one second. I'm going to try this just to see what happens. And then maybe we can talk.
Right. We've all felt that fear before we're doing something, get out of our comfort zone. And if we just let that fear overtake us each time, we're not, how far are we really going to get in life? You may feel that fear of, asking a girl out, and you might listen to that fear, be like, oh, what if she rejects me? That voice of fear, maybe I'm unworthy, blah, 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 whatever reasons. You're like, you know what? No, I really want to ask that girl out. So you have to cultivate that courage within you, and you go ahead and you do that, and maybe it works out. But if you were just to be trapped in that fear, you wouldn't be taking any risks. You wouldn't be living life because that fear would be too much of an obstacle for you. And I think that the antidote too is when you're finding those antidotes, you realize that those antidotes are already in you. And I think that's kind of important too, that, that playfulness does exist in me. That compassion is in me. Those antidotes, I don't need to find those outwardly. I can cultivate those within me.
Right. Because that's just a suppressed aspect. This is the one that's out. The fear that's your dominant aspect, but that courageous aspect is still in you. It's just you've pushed it down, or some trauma has squashed it into your being so deep and just gone almost to the, but it's not gone. It's there, but it feels like it's gone.
A lot of times when we think of shadow, we always think of like something, a negative. Well, I'm just using it as a point of reference.
Yeah.
Negative feeling. But really sometimes what we bypass is actually that love, We bypass those things, those courage. We bypass those things that are what we would think is positive.
That's
So
true.
really, a lot of times, a depressed person is really spiritual bypassing the love that they really are. So
That's a
sometimes
really
we
good way to put it. That is a really, really good way to
you know,
put
in
it,
the
man.
shadow, we just think of, oh, anger or
Right.
something else.
Yeah,
But really,
because most of us don't live in this home that Tony speaks of. We don't really live in a home of love or joy. We really live in those. Most of us live in shadow dwellings. For the most part, if we're being authentic, right? And if someone says, "What kind of home do you live in?" Mine's a pretty fearful home. Maybe yours is a very sad home, because we're ultimately, we, at least in this society, we're very much entrained and well, that's just probably the best word, programmed or whatever, to that's the standard, man. You can have moments of happiness, you can have moments of courageousness, but mostly it's fear and sadness. And that I don't think it really needs to be that way, right? Does it?
no, it
Can we
doesn't.
flip the script in this lifetime? Can we? I think we
We
can.
could do it. I think we could do it. I mean, our naturally we are happy, and when we get back to our natural self, that is happiness, that is love, that is the love and light is our natural self,
Yeah.
underneath, but it's underneath our conditioning and underneath those experiences that we've clung to and formed a conceptual identity from.
So this is where I don't say, like when someone says Tony Robbins, I don't always go, it's garbage, it's nonsense, it's spiritual Bible, it's bulldozing. Like today, in these days, in the past, it'd be like, oh, dude, I love that guy, he's so energetic. Then during the awakening days, I just didn't really say anything. But today, as I sit here and I listen to you, and I only watched it once because of time constraints. But I could see how if I listen to it again, and basically I feel like I'm listening to it again, listening to you and your interpretations, is that there's some good stuff here. And I don't think Tony would have made it as far as he did, like selling snake oil and stuff.
Right.
And I think, look, it served me well during the Amway days. It definitely got me up. It got me it put me into, and he wasn't the only one. There's lots of speakers, but he was one of the ones where there was a lot of tapes going around, that put me into a state of forward moving action. And that's a divine masculine trait that a lot of us in the spiritual world seek out. Like we want to feel empowered. We want to, and you look at Tony and he looks like a very powerful man. He's very charismatic, present. And he does say, and I will agree with this, that presence changes relationships.
Oh,
Tony, if
absolutely.
you like that, if you get anything out of this recording, this video, this podcast today, presence changes relationships, not just with other people, but with yourself, right? And he talks about that, and I think that goes in step 1 and step 2 is being present with that emotion and identifying it. And then step 2, the antidote, is really, I think we can retranslate it to, it just for our sake or for the audience sake, is to be present with the opposite or suppressed aspect of ourself, and just not force this one out of the way and this to come out and just do this and reprogram yourself, but just allow them to talk to each other, like parts work, right?
Right. That's really
and,
good.
and give it a voice.
Right.
Because
that fear is probably suppressing
I got goosebumps.
something else. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. All right. Tony, we made it make sense. All right.
And we're done.
And recording. All right. Oh shit, we got more stuff to do.
All right.
Yeah. So
Good.
you want to go on to step 3?
Step 3 is practice the emotion. So we're practicing we're practicing the antidote, and he makes the comment about emotions being in our body. How the emotions, the body, and says how we're, look at when we're depressed, our shoulders may be slumped, our speech may be slower, looking, head downward. And so he says, okay, well, you need courage, and stand up straight, and maybe you try to remember a time when you did feel confident and you kind of mimic that.
So
And yeah,
I'm
it's
acting
sort
it
of like
out, folks.
it's I think there's some validity to that. It's like in something like that too. Like, if you're somewhere and you're not feeling confident, maybe at work, or maybe, I don't know, in any kind of situation in life, maybe a social situation, and you might just be like, you know what, like, yeah, you know what, I know I'm feeling shy right now, and I'm feeling timid. Yeah, I know I need to work on these things, but for now, you know what, I'm gonna like walk in here. I'm gonna keep my shoulders up. I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna think back to some other event where I was, on and funny or whatever, or I felt good, and connect with that feeling. And I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna crush it.
Ray, I'm waiting for you to say that word that you've said on almost every podcast as a gentle reminder to me and the audience. What could step 3 just totally be renamed as?
Mm,
Mm,
I don't know. I'm not sure what
uh,
you're talking.
mindfulness,
Yeah. Well, yeah, mindfulness.
right?
You need to
Like,
be mindful of the feeling.
right. So like being mindful. So the practice could be mindful of that emotion, right? Consciously, that you're maybe, or your body posture or whatever, and you're just like, when you feel yourself slumping or whatever. My partner reminds me all the time when I'm sitting in a chair, maybe when I'm eating, sometimes I'm like hunched over or whatever, she's like, hey, like, like, sit up, take it, slow down, you're eating fast. She's not doing it to like program me or whatever, she's doing it to help me and like bring me to be more mindful with my eating experience and my posture so I could be more healthy and stuff. And when I do it, I instantly feel better,
Right.
and my body and I both thank her in that moment too. I'm like, oh, this is, wow, I don't need to like inhale this food, and wow, chewing my food and taking my time is quite a pleasurable experience. So just by, I think in step 3, so if we're using fear and courage, right? If we're really just mindful of what courage looks like and what courage feels like, and and just give it, again, giving that aspect of yourself a voice and seeing that it's there. Maybe you don't even have to, I don't know, employ it, because maybe that's too much or whatever, but maybe just seeing that there's an alternative.
Well, even like what he's saying about the body being, how do you, pay attention to your body when you're feeling that negative thought, and see how that's working out. Maybe your anger, and you notice, my fists are clenched, or doing some kind of something nervousness. You're paying attention to how stress relates in your body. And so he says, you could try to do something to, act out, practice the emotion that you want to feel physically. To me, that sounds a lot like too, like kind of like energy work, how the energy's stored in the body. So it's how it is. Like if you're feeling sad, you go for a walk outside on a sunny day, usually you feel like a lot better. So it's doing something, it's using the body to kind of shift your vibration in a sense. That's kind of how I interpret that number 3.
Yeah, I like that, man. It's another perspective to layer on here. And it's interesting, like when you look at a painting, and you see the things that you see, and I see the things that I see. Maybe the painter didn't have any like inclination whatsoever to make that his or her message or part of their vision, but you and I pulled something out of that. And that goes with music, that goes with poetry, any of the arts, right? But we're looking at a painting, and today we're listening to a recording of Tony Robbins, and we're pulling out things that maybe Tony doesn't agree with or has ever even considered, or maybe he does, and he just made this speech or this offering to a certain audience that he was trying to reach, right? Mm-hmm. Not right. Necessarily this one recording, we need to remember, is not necessarily a complete embodiment of all of Tony Robbins' philosophies and his present day train of thought and what he believes in, right? Because right. Even if this was offered, I don't know when this was recorded, but I think it's maybe a year ago. I don't know the original recording, But let's just say it was 6 months, a year ago. Tony's life experience in 6 months to a year could drastically change. And those things that he recorded in the past, he could be like, yeah, those were nice and everything, but there's some things that are missing.
Yeah,
so I think it's I think it's important to remind the audience and ourselves that, you know, when we watch these things or listen to these things, to not really hold, you know, these teachers and speakers to a flame of, oh, well, you believe this and that's like it's black and white, and there's no other things that make up the constitution of this person or their message or how they're feeling today. Like, dude, you and I can end this podcast, and tomorrow I could listen to it and go, wow, I don't entirely really feel all the things that I said. And like, and it's really powerful to listen to yourself back too sometimes, because you instantly can grow from that. And I've personally witnessed myself change in a day. I'm sure maybe you have too, in certain aspects of your life. But man, with this show, a lot of times too, I'll listen to it back and listen to you and the things that spew from my mouth hole and go, oh wow, there's a whole nother way to look at this too. Or man, I didn't even think of that. Or man, I wish I would have said this. Oh my gosh, I entirely lost Ray, folks. But that's cool. He'll be back. Maybe he was like, John, you're talking too much, but here we are. Hopefully he'll chime back in here, because Ray still has a card reading to do for us, and we still have step 4 to go through. So let's see. We'll do some housekeeping while Ray is gone, trying to log back in. Well, I'll tell you this, while he's gone, we were talking in the pre-show about changing up the format a little bit. This is the 18th episode so far. And so we were thinking, instead of reviewing videos every time, because a lot of times people don't have the time to watch a video and then, you know, get their own opinions and feelings about stuff and then listen to us. In fact, that's probably the majority of the time that people listen to our podcast. They're not necessarily listening to what we listen to first. We're just going to do some topics of our own, and we're going to just create like more of a potpourri of Bodhi Ray and Bodhi John with a J, which, by the way, he did log in today as Bodhi Progress. It's always Bodhi something different, and today was Bodhi Progress, because in the video, Tony talks about progress equals growth equals feeling alive. And right now, Bodhi Ray is no longer with us. He was soon, hopefully, to return from the cyber death that his internet connection, or mine, who knows at this point, has created here. I'm trying to use my phone here to message him and ask him to log back in, or say like, log in, Ray, log in. Explanation point, can't reconnect. He says can't reconnect. What a bummer. Oh, what an interesting way. He's trying, folks. So yeah, back to the format. We talked about also, we'll still do video reviews, and let us know, please let us know if you've enjoyed this format. And if you'll miss it, if it goes, we're thinking about doing it once in a while now versus every episode is a video review. Ultimately, when our audience is bigger and attractive to certain speakers and stuff, perhaps we'll have folks that we can interview, which would be exciting. Hey, Bodhi Progress is trying to get back. Here we go. All right. And that would be really, really awesome, we think. And then what we could do is we could create what we've talked before about doing a Patreon or a Buy Me a Coffee or Subscribestar, one of those other platforms, or all of them. And our bonus content could be the pre-show material or the post-show. We haven't decided yet. And now maybe this gives us an opportunity to have something we used to do that maybe fans or listeners would enjoy, and that would be the recording reviewing a recording or a video of sorts. And
Right.
it could
So
be
we could do
just bonus material. So while you were gone, I talked about what we one of the things we talked about before the recording today, and that was the potential changing of the format, Ray. And I asked the listeners if they would miss our present format or if they've dug it so far. So send us some comments and be like, no, don't make it go away. Well, we're not going to make it go away.
They could still give us some ideas just to cover anyways.
Right.
Even it's not even a spiritual teacher. You could be like, you know what? I really wanted to hear more about Tantra. Or hear more about.
You're going there. I knew you were going there. I was thinking the same thing, man. It's like
or whatever. Or
yeah, we'll bring it back.
Do a video. Can you do a video on law of attraction? Can you do a video on something or Dark Night of the Soul or demons or whatever?
Yeah, all of it. We can do it all. There's no.
We can do it all. We can do it all.
And we will.
Maybe we can't get the best internet connection, but
hey, we've gotten better though, and it makes it exciting, man. It makes it real. It makes it look. We don't edit. I don't edit these videos. We don't cut anything out. We don't trim it. It is what it is, man.
You know what time it is? I think.
Yeah, I think it's definitely time for that. Oh wait, we didn't talk about stage 4.
Oh, okay.
Step 4.
Stage 4 was a basically just to condition it so it's automatic. So you automatically go into that opposite. The antidote emotion. So it's, I guess he said that takes time. So you could, you know what it is? I think doing this is a good start, especially bringing awareness to your feelings. That's great. This is 100% best thing you can do. Eventually, this is going to lead to doing shadow work. No doubt about it. Because eventually what's going to happen, you're going to have this feeling that's going to keep coming up. You're going to be like, you know what? I still feel like low self-worth. So I'm going to start doing all this antidote to confidence. And you're gonna try your hardest, and you know what's gonna happen? You're gonna hit a wall, and eventually that antidote thing is not gonna work. It's gonna run out.
Yes, and here's the caution, folks: allow the wall, and honor the wall. Don't try to change the wall. Don't try to go around it or break it down. Like when you hit that wall, know that the Tony Robbins message has ended. Okay, and it's time for something new. Not that it was wrong. He brought you to the wall, right? But now it's time to consider what Ray talked about, shadow work or something, and investigating another path, not around it. Like I said, not to change it, but understand how to be with the wall and what the wall is all about and why it's there, right? So that to me is the biggest thing, man. And to not, because you can, Ray, you can become a master. Raising my hand, folks, for those of you who can't see right now, a master of being perpetually positive and plowing down everything. And it could take you through years, if not decades of your life. You can get so good at it and so blinded by that vision and that practice and that soul channel and just obliterate things and feelings and jump in on distractions and plug into so many things and unplug from so many other things that will carry you through a very significant, unfortunately, portion of your life. But those walls are unavoidable. You can't avoid them, mind you. But the question is should you? That's up to you, man.
Here's the real bottom line, I think, for me, is if you want to change negative thoughts, you change it through acceptance. It's almost a paradox. You change it by not changing it.
Yeah.
By not trying to change it, by allowing it, by accepting what is. And that's really how real change is. Isn't trying to change. Change comes from like almost through acceptance. To accepting who you are right now in this moment, where you're at and how you're feeling, instead of wishing to feel differently, wishing the conditions of life are different, resisting anything.
Yes.
That's how real change happens.
Yes. And give that gift to other people too. Like just be present with those emotions when they come up for other people. Don't try to change them. Don't try to make them not angry. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's going to be okay. Don't do that. Don't, hey, don't cry. Don't do that. Just be with the anger. Ask them why they're angry. Don't say, you shouldn't be angry or you have so many other things to be happy about. Don't do that. Just allow the anger and watch those walls crumble.
Right.
Watch, you know, why are you crying? Not don't cry. Like, oh, what are you sad about? What's hurting you? Man, that's the way to connect. Give people that presence.
Right.
Make every emotion okay.
And I
Make
think I think too sometimes we think that being spiritual means that we're supposed to be happy or joyful, feel peaceful, like we're in heaven on the clouds and we're in halos and angel wings, and but look, if you look at realistically, look at even like Jesus. Jesus got pissed. Jesus got pissed at the market. Jesus was pretty upset when he was on that cross, when he had to accept it. He wasn't happy about it. Look at that. Look at the Buddha. The Buddha was, wasn't sitting there just being one emotion forever, just feeling knocked out or just, eternally full of bliss. That's just not how it is. Not how it is for anyone. And anyone that says you can be like that or tries to pull off that they are like that are just full of BS.
Hey, before you grab those cards, I wrote something else down that I thought was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, you know what I did too.
Actually, two things. The one was, it's not what we face, but what we do with what we face.
Yeah.
And that's that wall again. So if you hit that wall while you're doing your positive Tony Robbins stuff and you're trying to, feel different things or connect with different aspects of yourself that you've pushed away for so long, cool. But when that wall comes, what do you do with that wall? What do you do with it?
Right.
Are you going to go around it and continue on that path? Because it's going to come back again. It'll probably be twice as big and twice as scary next time. Trust me. Or are you just going to sit with the wall? Ask the wall, why are you here? Why have you presented yourself in front of my path? I thought I was going the right way. I thought I was doing the right thing. And trust the beautiful messages that you will get from this wall, just like you will from another person when you don't try to change it. When you say, why are you here? Not, dude, get out of my way, or can you just, come on, man, what do I need to do to get around you or to push, to blow you up? People don't want to hear that. People want to hear that you're there with them in their pain. They want to be seen. They want to know that it's okay to be depressed. Maybe they don't even know that. A lot of people don't know that it's okay to be sad or it's okay to be angry. Most people think it's bad because that's the way we're conditioned. Imagine if someone shows up and says, hey, let's go scream at the ocean. Let's go to one of those rooms where we could put on visors and gloves and stuff and goggles and protective gear and break shit. Right. Like, I mean, that's showing up for someone, because then you see their anger and you're giving them a safe place to express it.
That's very good, man. Very good.
So what did you write down?
I also like what you said too about progress. Progress equals growth. Progress equals feeling alive.
I talked about that while you were gone.
Oh, you did?
But yeah. You talk about it. Talk about it from your perspective.
I mean, that's true. I mean, we got to be evolved. We got to be expanding. And if we're not expanding, we're dying pretty much. We're staying small. We're listening to fear or we're in denial. And that's really why we're here, right?
Yeah, I told him you logged in as Bodhi Progress, but right now we're experiencing progressive technical difficulties.
Yeah, so I mean that's definitely if you're not progressing, cool. If you're not expanding or bettering or learning, you're just gonna go stagnant in life. And he even said how you could be a millionaire or be famous, but you still be miserable if you're not progressing somehow in your life.
I starred this. He said, the worst thing is to not take control of the force that controls your life, and that's human emotion. What would your translation of that be, or your perspective from your belief system that might make that a healthier statement?
What was the statement again?
The worst thing is to not take control of the force that controls your life, and that's human emotion.
Well, depends how you interpret it.
Right.
Somebody can interpret it as bypassing it, resisting those feelings that you don't want to feel. taking control could just be being mindful of it and not allowing it to kind of control you. And being mindful of it, you can say, okay, there's fear. I have a choice to when that fear is over you, possesses you, you become reactive towards your environment. When you're mindful, you become responsive, and you could allow that fear to be there. You can acknowledge it, but you don't have to let it control your actions. You could take that step and with that courage.
My thoughts precisely, man. I thought we would definitely be on the same page there. I started because I knew there was a different angle that we could introduce, just to precautionary, because it did sound a little bulldozy, if you will.
Maybe we should send our video to him, to Tony. Like, we made some improvements. Updated version.
Yeah, and for we didn't really talk about this, but I think this was a segment of maybe like a retreat or something like that, and he was talking about a couple, Frank and Kristen, and I'm thinking Frank was in a wheelchair.
I think maybe he referred to, like, was starting to talk about one couple, then he started shifting and talking about another one, the guy that
Right,
became quadriplegic.
right, but then it sounded to me like both people, like the guy he started talking about was in a wheelchair, but so was Frank. I could be wrong. The couple.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
But he mentioned this. I keep saying the word dangerous when we allow ourselves to think this way and not give ourselves permission to totally validate our own experience as painful and not compare it. But he's like, see if your problems are as big as, this couple's, like, he's like, if you get stuck, he mentioned that. And I was like, Tony, like, like, I don't know if that's the healthiest way to bring awareness to, yourself and where you're at, is going, oh, well, at least it's not this bad, or
Well,
at least.
well, he was talking about a survey, and most people said the worst thing that could possibly happen would be quadriplegic. So I think he
Right.
wasn't saying, well, this couple has a bigger problem than you. I think he was basically saying universally, that's what most people's worst case scenario was.
Okay, fair
So
enough.
I'm like, so he was saying, okay, that's everyone's, let's say he was saying, okay, everyone's best case scenario was to win the lottery. And he said how they win the lottery and they're still miserable after a couple of years because they don't really change. They don't change. Just
Yeah.
the external conditions change.
Yeah.
And then he was saying, look at this couple, being a quadriplegic was probably the worst case scenario for almost people that answered the survey. This couple, this guy being quadriplegic, and look, it transformed his life. He actually improved his life
Yeah.
by going through the worst case scenario. I think that's what he was trying to do. He wasn't
Okay.
like, oh, you know what, your problems ain't crap. Look at this
Right.
guy.
Right.
I don't think that's how he was saying it, but
Right. But you know what I'm saying though.
yeah.
There.
Minimizing,
Right. Right. Because all of our experiences are painful and tough, and like, and I think if you get caught up in that sometimes, then you don't bring enough attention to yourself because you don't think that it's warranted, or that you deserve that, because it could be worse, or yada yada yada. That's a hole you could fall down that just really doesn't provide growth. It really just it encourages stagnation, I think, a lot of times. But that's a whole nother conversation for another day. That's everything that I wrote down, man.
it kind of reminded me a little bit too of Ram Dass, and he did that movie called Fierce Grace. Like in the late 90s, Ram Dass had a serious stroke, and it left him in a wheelchair permanently, and he had to relearn how to talk, and he was never really the same talking. And that was like his main gift, that he was able to take the spiritual stuff and convey it in a way that everybody understands it. That was sort of his gift, and now that gift was gone, and he had to relearn everything. And what he called the stroke fierce grace, that he actually said his guru stroked him, and he saw it as a blessing. That's how he looked at it as. And he said, yeah, look, I can't do all this stuff now. I can't walk anymore. I can't do all this other stuff. And pretty much forced him to go inward and deal with the stuff inward that he wasn't dealing with, that he was maybe suppressing or bypassing in himself. So that's the way how he taught, is that everything is always grace. And you could look at that too in the way the couple with the quadriplegic, how if he didn't go to that accident, he said there was 4,000 things that he could be doing, and now he was only doing 500 of those 4,000 things. After the accident, he could only do 3,000 of those things out of those 4,000 things. So he decided that he's going to start living his life doing more things now after the accident. Then, so if that accident happened, he wouldn't have probably traveled to Fiji or maybe did all those awesome adventures.
Right.
He probably would have maybe been stuck in his little comfort zone. And it took that accident for him to actually realize and value life and live a life to the fullest. So in a way, that was an example of fierce grace. It's like Ramdas.
Mm. I think one of the things that we aspire to do, or at least I do, with this podcast and in life in general, is to hopefully steer conversations or plant seeds that keep people from having to go that far or experiencing that level of trauma or suffering, to have their awakening, and to know that there's tools available to alter your life and to start doing those 3,000 things before something so horrific happens. But a lot of people do find, like you said, fierce grace in those happenings of life, and end up living extraordinary lives as a result of those rock bottom moments, if you will.
Right.
And that movie, I think you've talked to me about before. It's available online or something where I can drop a link. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure it's online.
I'll look for it, and if I can find it, I'll put it in the description below.
So how about we do card time?
Card time with Bodhi Progress.
All right, we got the Rumi deck.
Ooh.
Some Rumi cards here.
Have we used this one yet?
Yeah, we've used them before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good stuff.
Oh, that looks like Elena Fairchild might be part of that.
Yes.
It's that art. It's that artwork.
Yes, it is. So let me get in the Bodhi zone.
Get in the Bodhi zone.
And pull a card for the collective consciousness for all those listening.
Step into the Bodhi zone. Oh yeah. Our pre-show wrestling conversation. We went back to the 80s, folks.
The Kundalini Kid.
What would my wrestling name be, Ray? We'll come back to it. I want you give you a chance to focus on the cards. It's not about me, man.
All right. What we got here? Enter the Garden of the Lights. Number 28.
The Garden of Delights or the Garden of Lights?
The Delights. Delights.
These lights.
These lights. Okay, so I'm gonna look this up. And I'm not gonna read the whole thing because it's pretty big.
Okay. We trust you, Ray.
Let me get to the. All right. This oracle comes to you with a message. A new day is dawning for you. This is a time to put the past. This is a time when the past will very soon cease to have any hold over you. Celebration is imminent. You are invited into the golden light of divine plenty. Put your worries behind you now and step into your divine inheritance, where all is sorted according to kindness and grace. Wow. Well, that sounds pretty damn good garden there. I'm ready for that garden of delight.
Yeah, man.
Well, let me see. There's another little part. To come alive requires shedding so much adherence to the fear of death. The great brother whispers wisdom into your heart. You have heard it, felt it already. The fear of death is so much more terrible than death itself. Nothing is dying in you but fear, so the heart can live more freely. So there you go. So it's kind of letting go of fear and entering into this garden of delight. No weeds in that garden.
I don't mind weeds, man. I think weeds get a bad rap, man. I think there's
Are you
a
talking about weeds or are you talking about weed?
guilty. um, yeah, I've become a big fan of. This is this could be a lengthy discussion for another time, another in our new format. Um, cover cover crops. But yeah, there's some natural things that grow in our gardens that a lot of times we pull out, but that are very beneficial to the plants, and they all talk to each other, and they provide things for the soil. And yeah, I'm not an expert on it at all, but I firmly, by profound accident, if you will.
Maybe we could do a video called like "Quit pulling on those weeds."
Yeah. Look, I had to deal with code enforcement and stuff one time, and she's like, "You need to pull all these weeds up." And I went around and I specifically, I was like, "This right here." She's like, "Yeah, all this stuff needs to go." And I told her what the name of the plant was and what it medicinally can provide for her and her family. And she was like, "I see this everywhere." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's all over Central Florida, and it's good for your respiratory system. You can make tea from it. You can do this from it." And she's like, "Wow, I had no idea." And she's code enforcement, right? And of course she wouldn't. And she's like, "Well, what about that stuff over there? That's just, those are just weeds." And I'm like,
Did you get some weed?
I didn't. I had some in the house, but I didn't think we were quite there yet. But yeah, I took her around the front, and she was like, dude, this conversation, hopefully, but at least in the moment, changed this woman's perspective on a lot of things. So she was like, huh, like her shoulders were dropping. She's like, oh, and I showed her some stuff on my phone. Like, I'm not shitting you, lady. Like, look. And she was like, wow. And, I could never afford mulch, if you will. So I always just like let things grow and do things. And, I've come to learn from a few of my permaculture buddies and stuff that, you don't always need mulch. And in fact, sometimes that can be counterproductive for what you're trying to achieve. But anyway, the garden of delights. Yeah, man. You don't really have a place where you can actively garden in the soil, but
No.
do you have any plants?
I do have yes, bamboo.
Oh,
Bamboo.
nice.
Yeah.
Love bamboo.
Yeah, bamboo is pretty cool.
Oh, what is it? You have it like on the porch?
Is this a regular like flower, like a regular flower pot? When I bought it at work, and it was like all kind of like twisted and everything, kind of cool. But now it just grew like
nice.
It's just a nice sloppy mess.
Oh, I fucking love bamboo. Wow, got a little celery in there. Oh. I really freaking like bamboo, man. Love bamboo. All right.
Crap about that bamboo.
Man, look, man, this new format's coming. We can do a whole damn show on bamboo. I'll tell you right now.
Don't bamboozle the bamboo.
Rename the show to the Bamboo Bros. Fucking hey, man, drop that bamboo knowledge on that ass. All right, so
maybe that'd be your new name, Bamboo John.
Oh my God.
Bodhi Bamboo.
Bodhi Bamboo. Look, folks, get excited because, if we're not shackled by having to talk about a video and we can talk about whatever we want, like this shit's going to get nuts, man. Like our pre-show and our post-show are entertaining premium content to be delivered to your homes in the near future. Yeah. And so I think we set out not knowing really what we're going to do, but we just wanted to do a thing. We wanted to get together every week, and we've done that. We've gotten some new equipment. We've learned to listen and talk with each other better over this long distance, not being able to be in the same room, studio, see each other and get those cues or whatever and work with these contraptions in front of us. So we've got some experience now there, some momentum. And now, we want to kind of like flex our muscles a little bit and be, allow our inner badass to come out and be ourselves more prolifically and more comfortably. And it's time. I think, we could have waited till episode 20, but we said nay. So episode 9.
Look, episode 18, we're an adult now.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. All grown up, ready to leave the nest and shit. Ooh, Hercules.
We're 18 now.
Oh, watch out. Ooh, that's why I dropped those.
21.
Oh, damn. That's when we host a retreat, man. When we hit episode 21, that's when we schedule the first retreat, and we get crunked. We get chocolate wasted. So
that'll be our psychedelic episode.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it, bro. So yeah, here we are. Here we go. Please, more input. Please, more comments. Please, feedback, likes, shares, all the platforms. Let us know where to go, how to grow. We love all of the interaction so far. We look forward to more connection and more return replies and stuff. We're wide open to that. Ray, you got anything else?
Hey, man, you said it all. I'm looking forward to coming up with some of our own topics and, our own material and providing you with what, we pretty much do that anyways, but we don't need to always have to make it a video review. So why not?
And if you have a topic, let us know.
Let us know.
Now it doesn't even have to be a video. You don't even have to send us a link. Just send us a word.
I think pretty much, at least some of us, between both of us, we've experienced a whole lot. So I think we have a lot.
You call me old?
I think we have a lot we could say. I know, I've had some crazy experiences, out of body, shadow figures, all that crap.
Ooh, let's talk about all that stuff. That sounds fun. You got someone at your door?
Yeah.
Yeah, go answer it, dude. Answer it. Yeah, go answer it. I'll talk. Yeah, have fun. Right. Hey, for those of you who don't know, Ray is wearing a Baker Mayfield jersey today. That is the present quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, coming off a victory this week against the Cincinnati Bengals. And hopefully we'll build upon momentum and take another victory in week 3 of the professional football sports, because I have decided to, what do you say, not place a wager, but in a free league of you pick 'em, I'm taking the Browns this week to continue their win streak. I think that's near where Ray lives. That's why he's a fan. And as a Browns fan, all right. As a Jets fan, we are used to suffering. We are used to not winning. And I told him about your jersey and about who he is and your victory this past week, and how we both are fans of organizations that don't historically win very much or have won a championship in a very, 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 very long time. And
maybe they need to listen about our video about changing negative thoughts.
Yeah, we're used to suffering. We could talk. I talked about that with another friend of mine about how maybe some of these cities, like the Cleveland Browns and New York Jets, the Detroit Lions. Think about.
We talked about that too.
Yeah. Oh, we did. Oh, that's right. For a little bit, we definitely did. How maybe the energetic imprint of that city and the.
Maybe it's like I think maybe it's a collective consciousness.
Yes.
Of it's like an entity, because there is a collective entity consciousness in that. So maybe that needs to do some sort of I don't know how you would go about that, but
that's a major shift, man. And I mean, think about it. If Cleveland goes another 20 years, or New York, Detroit goes another 10, 20 years and doesn't win a championship, there's something to be said about that. You could change the ownership. You could change the uniforms. You could change the GM, your head coach 9 times and spend zillions of dollars on all these high level all-star athletes, and nothing ever works. Why is that?
Because they need the Bodhi Bros to come in.
They do. That's a new service we're offering, folks, and thank you for saying that, Ray. I was going to wait maybe till episode 20 or 21 to introduce that, but we are available for your consultation needs. Pro sports, celebrities. If you want to shift your life, transform some things, let us know. We'll talk offline.
Jerry Jones, if you're there listening.
Jerry Jones, you need us. We'll create a fair energy exchange financially, Jerry. I'm sure you can afford us, where, we come at a price, but I think you can shell out the dollars to make a shift, and why the Cowboys aren't doing what the Cowboys could be doing. But on that note, we'll save that for future episodes as well. I think we covered a lot today. Thank you for your patience and patronage. Bodhi Ray, it's always a joy and pleasure to see you each and every week. I love you, brother.
Love you too. Namaste.
Namaste. To those of you out there, I'm John with a J.
Bodhi Ray.
And we are out.